Hello everyone, so I've decided to revamp this channel. Before I only used it for vlogs, and this channel is called Althalus from Space. There was nothing space related in any of them. But you know, that's the way I work. I make a channel and it has nothing to do with anything, and then I decide to revamp it, although this is actually the first time I've ever properly decided to revamp it. So today I come to you from Kerbal Space Program. For those of you who don't know, Kerbal Space Program is a game about generally going to space. You design and you build rockets and you launch them and you do stuff with them in a solar system very similar to our own, just with different names and everything, and with people that look something like this little guy down here, all green and smiley and bouncy, and oh, he just said hi to us. So now that I actually have a computer that can, I will be doing gaming videos on this channel of mine. I am playing Kerbal Space Program today for the first time with a joystick, so I'll probably make a lot of mistakes. But yeah, I'm going to start a brand new world. Before I start the series, throughout all of my Kerbal Space Program videos, unless I say otherwise, I'll only ever use two mods, and they will be MechJeb, which is basically an autopilot, but I won't be using its autopilot functions. I'll only be using it for information and possibly its autopilot for some very, very delicate maneuvering, or let's say if I'm landing on the moon, I might use it to control my vertical speed, just to make it a proper good touchdown. And the other one will be the subassembly loader and saver, which basically allows me to save segments of the spaceship. I'll put links to both of those in the description, and let's get stuck in. So I've already started a game, but I haven't actually done anything in it yet. For this, it's just going to be called YouTube, no flights in progress, 2 minutes in. So, this is our space center. We have our spaceplane hangar. I was about to say vehicle assembly building, which is this one. So vehicle assembly building is for rockets, spaceplane hangar is for spaceplanes, as it might suggest. Your launch pad over here used to have a tower beside it until this version, 0.19. I'm not actually on the very newest version, but Steam keeps bugging out on me whenever I try to update to it. And the vehicle tracking station. I'll show you what the tracking station basically allows us to track any vehicles and spatial bodies we have. The spaceplane hangar in here, as you can see, it allows you to build on horizontally, so I'll just show you a default plane. Unless you build things like this is a very small one, it can't actually reach orbit. This is just a kind of an atmospheric plane as opposed to a space plane. An actual working space plane here is the Ares Mark 4A, although it's not a particularly good one. Particularly when you have a bit of a glitchy joystick like mine, you need something very stable. If we go back, the vehicle assembly building is for orbital, for vertical rockets, such as the... Oh, that's actually from a different YouTuber. I thought I got rid of that one, to be honest, but it'll be alright. Such as the Orbiter 1, no, the Orbiter 1, Kerbal X is what I was looking for. Kerbal X. That little vehicle there that I said I meant to delete is from Suester Gaming HD. He's quite significantly better at this game than I am, so you might want to check him out. He makes some very nice videos. So yeah, this is pretty much a default rocket, but I am going to make my own one. Now, the subassembly loader is this little button here, and that basically allows me to load up a segment of my ship, but I'm just going to make a fairly large orbiter. Will I use... No, I'm just going to make a simple orbiter for now. This is going to be able to go to orbit and back more than once on the launcher I'm going to put on it. The launcher is going to be basically completely unnecessarily overpowered, and therefore I can stick a lot of stuff on the top. I'm going to stick a Mark 16 parachute on top of my little Mark 1 command pod. So I'm just going to get on with building a spacecraft anyway. I'm going to put a very small rocket on this that will just basically assist in landing it gently, even though I don't need to assist in landing it gently. I'm just going to show you what it's like to have basically what it's like to have a lander. I'm going to put some landing legs on. This is completely unnecessary, by the way. The parachute on top can quite easily bring it down without any of this, but you know, I feel like doing something interesting. And then I am going to stick a decoupler underneath this. This one here. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for. This will decouple anything that comes underneath. Now, instead of taking forever to build a giant lifter, I am just going to load up my heavy lifter. This can go quite easily into virtually any orbit. It starts out with a docking port for things that use docking ports to get up there, but I don't really want one of those right now. It uses the very popular and very efficient asparagus design, which you may want to look into. Basically, the way this works, you'll see it when I actually launch, is that, where does it start? This fuel tank flows into this fuel tank, so that basically when this fuel tank runs out of fuel, and you drop it off, every other fuel tank will still be full. This fuel tank is running into this fuel tank, so when you drop this off, this one will still be full, and this fuel tank is running into this one. So basically, at the start, this fuel tank here is powering the entire rocket, and then when it drops off, you're losing a lot of weight, and then this one takes over, and you're losing a lot of weight when that drops off, and this one takes over, and then the center one is all that's left. This can get a payload about 10 times the size of this to the moon with ease. Serious ease. Like, if this payload, it could probably quite easily get it to Joule or one of those planets, assuming I used an aerobraking maneuver when I got there. So I reckon that's enough talking for now. I might just add a couple of struts onto this if I can, because a lot of spaceships like to flop around the place. I'll quickly walk through my entire design. So obviously this bit I built here, this is a fuel tank that powers an atomic engine. Atomic engines are extremely efficient, but don't provide a huge amount of power, so they're good for in orbit. They're no good for getting anything into orbit. This is the largest fuel tank in game, and there's 6 more wrapped around it. These are mainsail engines. They provide a massive amount of thrust. I'll only need to actually launch it just at probably less than 1/3 thrust to get off the ground. So, and then all of these grey parts are struts that are just supporting it. What I am missing, I just realised, is one of those advanced SAS modules I talked about, and RCS, but I won't actually use RCS for this particular launch. I'll just leave it as it is. I'm also going to rotate this 90 degrees to make the launch easier. So I'm just going to call this the Light Demo Orbiter. And I'm going to go to launch. This is actually my second time doing this launch, because the last time I did it, I got into orbit and then accidentally overheated one of my mainsail engines, and got my staging wrong, so I need to correct that staging now. Actually, this goes up here, and this goes down here. Always make sure you've got your staging right before you leave the vehicle assembly building. There's a top tip from me. So I'm going to enable my SAS, and as you can see, my fins are going crazy, and I'm at about 2/3 thrust. I don't even need this much. I want to stay below 200 meters per second, below 5,000 meters. I'm never quite sure whether it's 100 or 200, but I usually go with 200. Basically, the idea is that drag will reduce your efficiency. If it's 100 or if it's a different number entirely, tell me. So I'm going to launch. Now, once I get up to speed, I'm actually going to just bump up my speed a bit more just to get me up to a decent speed for now. The way the design works, as I already said, is this is flowing in here, and this is flowing in here, and this is flowing into the center. So you can see that these 2 rockets here, these are the very first ones, so they're draining very fast, as 7 rockets drain from 1 tank. But yeah, so now that they've burned off, I'm going to decouple them. When I reach 11,500 meters, or 11,000 meters, or somewhere around 11,000, 10 to 12,000 is the sweet spot for beginning your gravity turn, which is where you basically roll over in the direction you want your orbit to go at. So I'm going for a 90-degree orbit, which is perfectly around the equator of Kerbal. So the reason 11 to 12,000 meters is the perfect height is because it's just where you're most efficient. Otherwise you're going to be bleeding off power pointlessly, just like if you here's my sweet spot, just like if you go too fast against the atmosphere. Damn, I overdid that just a bit. I should have been a bit more careful about how much I turned, so I've basically wasted a bit of fuel by turning too hard there, but it's alright, I didn't waste a huge amount. As you can see, my second stage has finished, so I'm just going to jettison those, and I'm on my way to orbit. This is my spaceship on its way to orbit. I'll show you the map view. This is our apoapsis. This is the highest point of your orbit. It's marked by the AP, PE, The similar marker P, which will be on the other side when I get into orbit properly, will mark the periapsis, which is the lowest part of the orbit. I'm going to bring my apoapsis up to about 103 kilometers, because I will lose some power coming through the atmosphere. Basically, I'll aero brake a little bit on coming through the last part of the atmosphere. And I keep accidentally moving my mouse. Last time I had a problem where basically I pressed the X key to cut all of my throttle, but didn't actually bring it down on the joystick, and it glitched its way back up. It's actually not going to drop as much as I expected it to, because we're basically through the atmosphere, but it doesn't really matter all that much. It increases the speed of time. I'm actually not on a perfect orbit right now, but I'm fairly close to a perfect orbit. If you burn prograde, which is this marker here, the yellow with two markers on either side, I'm going to try and get towards it now. I'm going to try and tip over so that I'm prograde for the burn. Prograde is the direction of your orbit. Basically, this will always mark the direction you're traveling in. And retrograde, which is like this, except with an X in the middle and with the marker slightly different. I'll show it to you later when I'm burning that way to get out of orbit. Is where is the opposite of the direction of your travel, and also where the name retro rockets come from, because they burn retrograde to your direction of travel. Again, I maneuvered a little bit too far there. I don't have a huge amount of maneuvering capability. There is some basically in the gyroscope in this pod, but as you can see, we're maneuvering a very heavy vehicle, so I'm just going to disable my SAS and bring it in myself. I'm still not quite used to the joystick controls, as I mentioned before. They're still a bit alien to me, so my roll is a bit different to what I'd be used to having it as, and my yaw is a bit different as well. As you can see, I'm coming up towards my apoapsis. I want to be burning pretty much now to circularize my orbit. So I'm going to begin my circularizing burn, and this time I'm not going to be an idiot and overheat my engines. On one of my engines. Hang on, I burned a bit too early. I'm just going to reduce my power. Wait until I actually reach the apoapsis, and yeah, I'm just going to time warp a little bit towards it, and 10 seconds, 7, 6, 5 seconds, begin my burn. As you can see, my apoapsis is increasing very slightly because I am still a little bit ahead of it, but the rest of the orbit is slowly spreading its way outwards. As you can see, this stage is gone, so I'm just going to release it. And I'm spinning wildly, but it'll stabilize after a minute. I just need to let my SAS kick in properly. Take off my power, and that is the wrong thing. There we go. I just stopped the roll myself because my SAS wasn't doing it for me. As you can see, I'm a good bit more maneuverable now that I've lost most of my length. And I'm just going to bring myself back into the retrograde marker to give me the most efficiency. I mean the prograde marker, give me the most efficiency, and again get close to my apoapsis. I'm trying to be as efficient as possible about this, but I'm really bad at efficiency still in this game. I may have been playing it for quite a while, but I'm still very bad at it. And crap, I've overshot my apoapsis, but as you can see, this is coming out and my periapsis is here. And that's pretty much a perfectly non-circular orbit, because as I've said, I'm not very good at this game yet. I'll probably get better as the videos progress. So I am going to jettison this stage, and I can as you can see, I made my rocket just a bit overpowered. I don't actually need this much power at all, but you know, it's nice to have power when you can. That basically sounds like some sort of terrifying neo-Nazi, or not really neo-Nazi, terrifying way of saying something. Anyway, I will skip on and just show you a couple of orbits around the planet. I am not using any of my electric charge. Normal, if you have a proper orbiter, you want to provide some sort of energy source, electricity source. This here, the marker that you're seeing now, is the retrograde marker. So I'm actually going to just deorbit myself in the first burn, because I don't want to make a pointless video of just going around in orbits again and again and again. I will just continue to time warp until I am getting close to my apoapsis, and then I'm going to do a retrograde burn. Here we go. I am going to, as you can see, I'm much more maneuverable now. I'm still not used to the joystick controls though. Basically my if only there was a way of having different programmed, not themes, but you know, similar to themes, different programmed functions, because my yaw and my roll are always different to what I expect them to be. So here we go. I have done a retrograde burn, which has dropped my periaps, and I'm going to keep dropping it. I'm going to overheat my engine if I'm not careful. I'm going to keep dropping it until I am... Actually, I could have landed close to the Kerbal Space Center, but I've overshot it. And as you can see, my parachute has deployed. While I'm still aerobraking severely, I am actually going to burn just a little bit, just to give myself a bit of an aerobraking boost. Here we go. And yeah, I'm going to hit water. I'll try to maneuver myself. Oh no, I'm not going to be able to. I'll still drop my landing legs just because they look cool. But yeah, I would have needed to put my orbit significantly further out to land properly over there. And I'm just going to let myself drop down and reduce my speed a bit. With this small design, I can hit the sea at 10 meters per second comfortably and not have anything blow up. But just for good practice, I'm going to drop that to crap. I accidentally destroyed my parachute, so I am just going to slowly drop myself into the sea, and I destroyed myself. So turning time warp off is usually a good idea before you do that, but yeah, that's a pretty good tutorial on how not to land. So after that disaster, I will quite quickly and embarrassedly bid you farewell, mortals of YouTube, and I shall see you, as this video may have suggested, assuming I can actually get there ever, in space.